Brent Tatum with us now and coming to Faith Community Fellowship Church next Friday night with the Strong and Brave Tour. Thank you so much for checking in tonight, Brent. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Well, talk to me a little bit about what you do. When folks come to Faith Community Fellowship Church next Friday night, you're going to be with Adelaide and T. Jones, Tony Jones. Going to be a big night, a lot of diversity. Talk to me about what you do. What's your style of music?
So it's more of a rock-based type style, maybe not as heavy as some of the heavier Christian bands that are out, but it's kind of a unique setup that I have. I'm solo. I do it alone. I have an electric guitar that I play through, but I also play a bass drum with my foot while I play. And I have some special effects that make it really interesting during the set. So you're not just seeing a guy up there solo with an acoustic or just an electric. So it makes for a really interesting show, and I can't wait to be there.
Wow, that's awesome! It sounds like and you remind me a lot. I mean, how old are you, Brent?
36.
Okay, so you might be familiar with a guy named Edwin McCain.
Yes.
South Carolina guy. So I mean, you look a little like Edwin, and I'm, as we logged on, I said, you know what, this guy's maybe like the Christian Edwin McCain, but now you describe it with the drum, so it's like one man Edwin, Christian Edwin McCain.
I've actually heard that before. So
Have
it's
you
not
really?
not the first time, but mostly with the voice, not the looks.
Really?
He probably looks a little bit better than I do.
Well, I mean but so you would say, who would you say that your influences have been over the years?
Well, my parents are pastors. Well, my dad passed away actually in November. He was a pastor for a church as long as I can remember. He's always been a pastor, him and my mom. So I've always been in the church. I started playing in bands when I was probably 16, kind of got away from the church. And, I did a lot of big things, played with a lot of big bands, played on a lot of big tours, secular. And I stumbled upon a guy named Aaron Gillespie. And he kind of brought me back to my roots. He incorporated some old hymns in with what I thought was a secular album that I was buying. And then I started hearing an old hymn that I heard when I was younger, and it took me back. And honestly, his that record set me on a path to really finding my relationship with Christ again. And the crazy thing is, the blessed part about it is he actually produced my first record, and so I got to record with him. I mean, it was an amazing experience, and it was all God, 100%. So. God always wants to give us the best, and I truly believe that.
Well, there's no question about it. God is the God of divine intersections, and there are no accidents in God's perfect plan. So whatever direction, whatever leading that you were given, clearly it was designed by God to move you in the direction of his plan and purpose for your life and your talents.
Yeah. And, I have a lot of other influence as well. I really like, I'm big into worship. I'm a worship leader also at my church. And so I'm really into Bethel. I'm really into the Jeremy Riddles and the Stephanie Gretzingers and just that whole movement that they've started. And I think they've created a more free way to worship that has really changed the face of worship music today. And John Mark McMillan is probably one of my favorite Christian songwriters, who wrote How He Loves and King of My Heart, and I could go on and on with the songs that he's written, but those are some of my bigger influences as well.
Well, and I think a lot of those songs that you mentioned, in particular, Bethel music and that sort of thing, these are songs that really focus on, and a lot of the modern worship today focuses on that personal relationship with God and making that a deeper, personal, abiding relationship with God. And I think that touches people on a wholly different level than music that has come before.
Yeah, and one thing that I've really embraced on this past album is trying to write about real issues that you don't hear on Christian radio a lot. I have a song that speaks directly to addiction. I have a song that speaks directly to anxiety and panic attacks. I have a song that speaks directly to when you feel like God isn't hearing you, because I've been through all of those places. And so I really felt that God was wanting me to write music for broken people who needed to hear that, his message is for them as well as the church. So that's the audience that I loved is the audience who doesn't have a clue how much God loves them. And if I can show them just a glimpse of that, it makes it all worthwhile.
And that's what the Great Commission is. The Great Commission is to reach out to the lost and the hurting, the people who cannot, we who have our faith secured and have chased this relationship with God, we get it. But there are a lot of people out there, like you said, who are dealing with addiction, who are dealing with other things that are putting the barrier between them and God, and they've got to see through that darkness before they can embrace the light.
Yeah. And it's good for them to know that, Christians are just like them. I mean, we're no different. We struggle every day just like everybody else. And I think
guilty, for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, misunderstand that concept, and, they think they're not worthy enough to step into a church. And man, my heart is to go after those people and just show them the love of Christ and give them an encounter with God that they didn't know existed. So that's really why I do this.
Awesome.
I would do it for free all day long if I knew that people were getting an encounter with God that they couldn't get anywhere else. And most of my shows are free, actually.
Well, hopefully you're not going to get free. Hopefully we're going to close out next week at Faith Community Fellowship Church, because you're touring with a great group. You're in with Adelaide, and man, have they got some great stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had a chance to listen to their stuff. I've never met them personally, but I'm excited to go on this journey with them and to hear what they're all about too. It's exciting when like-minded musicians get together.
Well, I tell you what, they're good people. They've got great music, and I love. You mentioned the song about addiction that I actually saw a video. It was remind me of the title again.
On my video?
Yeah, addiction.
Yeah, it's called Dear Addiction.
Yeah, Dear Addiction, and basically it's a Dear John letter to addiction, basically.
Yeah, and I wrote that song because we work with a group home with a bunch of teenagers here in South Carolina, and they're teenagers who have been abandoned, have gotten in trouble, they don't have anywhere to go, so they stay in this group home. And one of our friends, she's one of the directors there, and she wanted me to meet this girl. She was 14 or 15 at the time. And she said that this girl wanted to be a songwriter, and she knew that I sang. So she wanted me to go to the group home and kind of, meet her and maybe sing for them and play for them. And she came up to me and she said, I don't really know how to write music, but I have this letter that I wrote. And so she gave it to me, and the letter, she wanted to know, could I help her write a song from it? And
that sounds like the song was already written.
Yeah, and I mean, man, and the things that she put in the letter, it's way more graphic, it's way worse than my song could ever be. And it's things that you hope your kids never experience, and it's things that I've never even been through stuff like that. And this girl's 15, and she's been through way rougher stuff than I have in all my 36 years. But so that's how that song came about. And that one song, whenever I play that song live, it is the one song where people come up to me afterwards and they're like, I'm so glad you wrote that song because it spoke to me so much.
That's amazing, Brent. Mm-hmm. I cannot wait for you to be here next week. Now, you say you're a worship leader in the Myrtle Beach area?
Yeah, so I lead worship at a Brazilian church.
Really? That's awesome.
It's called Revival Tabernacle, and they speak Portuguese there, and it's translated into English. And I lead worship in Portuguese and in English. I don't speak Portuguese fluently. I know a little bit, but we fell in love with this family. They were next door to us. They invited us to their church, and I mean, we that was 6 years ago now, and I mean, we just fell in love with the place.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So hopefully I can do a tour in Brazil. So that's what I'm aiming for next.
You know, we want you to haul out some Portuguese next week at Faith Community Fellowship. Yeah.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Awesome. Tatum going to be part of the Strong and Brave tour coming right here to Faith Community Fellowship Church next Friday night. And it's a love offering show. So bring your friends, bring plenty of people, and bring plenty of $20 bills, and let this man move forward with these guys. All of these guys move forward with their ministries.
Yes,
Brent, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tony.
And we'll see you next Friday night here at Faith Community Fellowship Church.